Hello, my little hackmons. Tonight we're doing a double feature review. The two movies that we're going to be talking about today are Late Night with the Devil and Tarot. So, first we're going to start with Late Night with the Devil. If you have not seen this movie, and you are watching this video right now, click off immediately. Because I avoided people talking about this movie like the plague ever since it came out, and trust me, it was 100% worth it. The only thing I knew about this going in was a little teaser trailer that didn't really show anything, just some really cool visuals, which immediately attracted me to this movie. Now, I know there is a huge controversy with this movie and the use of AI-generated art in some of the stills. I will address that, but we're going to be talking about that later because I think that's what most people are focusing on when they talk about this movie, and I think it's really unfair to the content of the movie itself. So we're going to actually be talking about the movie, and then I will give my thoughts on the controversy. Okay, are all the people that haven't watched this movie yet out of the room now? They are? Okay, good. Wow, I didn't know what subgenre of horror this was gonna be. The moment I realized that this wasn't just supernatural, but this crossed into religious horror, I was just like, oh my god. Like, I do really like the religious horror subgenre. Not so much the messaging, but more the aesthetics and the character designs. And so when I realized that this was a demon movie, a demon possession movie, an exorcism movie, I went crazy. Also, I just want to say that the premise of this movie is so cool, and they really did commit to it. The idea that you're watching a lost live broadcast of something that really happened. Like, yeah, found footage and analog horror has been done before, but like, I can't name any other like analog horror movies or franchises that are about a late night talk show. I mean, that's pretty inventive. Now, I would definitely classify this movie as analog horror due to the technicalities, but I love that it did not go for what I call the YouTube analog horror style, which I'm sure you've all seen it, black and white, weird faces with big creepy smiles and all the static, which is cool, but it's kind of getting overdone these days. Also, the lead actor did a great job in this movie. I think he really nailed the talk show host kind of thing where his jokes always fall flat. I don't know, I've never found like talk shows or stand-up comedy to be like really funny. But he really nails that like crappy joke that the audience is forced to laugh at kind of thing. And then in the behind the scenes footage where like you kind of see like, yeah, he is kind of a jerk. One thing I really loved about this movie is how it amps up the horror and the craziness every time. So you've got the first guest who is just a sort of failing psychic who ends up having some creepy stuff happen to him. And you think, oh, you know, this might be it, this might be the extent of it. But then you get the little girl who was in a cult and you see her get possessed by a demon, which, by the way, oh my god, the special effects in this movie, you guys, they made me feel like I was back in the good old days of practical effects. The little girl was great in her part too. She did the whole creepy child thing without being too cliche about it. And a little something that I want to add about that storyline in the movie is that it strangely resonated with me because the way that the therapist kind of manipulates her and uses her for her own fame and to make herself look good, it reminded me of past trauma from being in therapy. If you want, I have a Letterboxd review of this movie that kind of dives into this in more detail, but it oddly resonated with me, even though it's about a demon possession, and I just want to say that I really enjoyed that, because horror movies are like the comfort movies for me, right? These are the cool movies, the fun movies. You know, this little bit of the movie, like, it made me confront my own reality, but in a way that was comfortable for me. Like, it didn't make me instantly regress back to those moments and start feeling sad again. I just went like, huh, that's kind of like what I went through. That's really interesting. And it more got me thinking more than anything. Again, I knew nothing about where this movie was going. I don't really emotionally resonate with the characters in horror movies because they're just vehicles for some awesome death scenes. So I really wasn't expecting this kind of touching connection. What I loved about this movie is that every time I thought I was sure I knew where this was going, it went in a completely different direction. The whole hypnosis thing came out of left field, but I was just like, whoa. In fact, the promo I saw that made me want to watch the movie was just like creepy laughing faces in front of like the hypnosis spiral. And like, if you guys have been around here for a while, guys, spirals, black and white spirals, that's like my favorite pattern ever. When it finally showed up, I was like, oh yeah, this is so cool. And the whole worm scene where the worms are spilling out of the guy's body, it's like, these are amazing special effects. But then they went, oh no, actually, that didn't happen. You were just hypnotized to see that. Wow. Like, I genuinely, like, would have never saw that reveal coming in a million years. And I loved it. Some people think that it was all a dream, it was never real. Endings in stories are pretty cheap. I can definitely understand that. I like them, but I can see where it's coming from. But this one genuinely came out of left field. So when they showed the footage that showed that it didn't really happen, I was shocked. And then to top it all off, the actual ending of the movie. Some people didn't like that they sort of broke the found footage illusion, but I thought they did it pretty smoothly. Oh my god. I rarely find myself like get disturbed or scared by these types of movies. I just think they're really fun and really cool. The one thing in this movie that stuck with me, out of all things, I think this is just because it's my phobia. The one part that stuck with me is when he goes out on the stage and everyone is just madly cackling. They are laughing at him. Like, public humiliation, that is my phobia. And that was done so well. It's rarely a topic that comes up in horror movies, but when it does, it is powerful for me. And like, not in a this traumatized me, no, in a this is awesome way. As we're going to talk about tarot later, there's also a scene in that movie that got to me in a similar way. So who knows, maybe 2024 is the year of horror movies with scenes that actually freak Orwell out in the best ways possible. It is pretty creepy when they all surround him on the stage and that owl character comes out who's pretty cool, and they make him drink that little cup and they all make weird owl noises. And then they open the door to reveal his dying wife. I didn't expect it to be in a realistic manner such as cancer. And when he has to make the sacrifice and stab her, I was like, whoa, I still like have no idea where this is gonna go. There's like 5 minutes left in the movie and they're still pulling out the crazy plot twists. I thought that was over, right? That was the big event that shocked everyone. He stabbed his wife on live TV. No. They cut to he stabbed the little girl, and then when they pan out, you see that everyone else is dead. And that's it. That is the ending. That is the finale. This movie crammed one plot twist after another, and I could not get enough of that. So in summary, I loved Late Night with the Devil. It's definitely one of those movies that I felt like I fell into the perfect target audience for. Like, if you hang around a lot of film fans, mostly like modern film fans and young fans, they often talk about a movie that they feel was made for them as like their name core. Like, oh, that's so Bob core, that's so Susan core. This movie is so Orwell core. Like, this is what do you guys remember when I started my YouTube channel and it was the crappiest found footage thing ever, and I tried to go with a possession angle and a dream angle and all that? Late Night with the Devil is what I wished. This is what I wanted my YouTube channel to be. And it all manifested perfectly. Also, what the hell does it say about me when I see the satanic cult scenes and the possession scenes and I go, oh hey, I have a prop that looks kind of similar to that for, you know, most of the background items on the table. Look, I don't think I would ever want to monetize my channel or make money from it, but if donations were open, pretty much 99% guarantee that's going to the Late Night with the Devil prop auction. We're so getting that sacrificial knife up in here, guys. This is not to say that I am unhappy with my current sacrificial knife, which is awesome looking. It was the only one in the store and is really surprisingly high quality for something I bought for like 10 bucks. Anyways. So, the AI controversy. I'm kind of scared to speak my piece on this because it's very controversial, you know, phobia of humiliation and all that, but I'm gonna suck it up, be brave, here we go. It is 100% okay to not want to see, to boycott, to not financially support this movie because you disagree with the AI usage. That is fine, is okay, and I respect your decision. This was, like, the only other thing I knew about this movie going in was that this huge AI controversy. And if you hadn't told me where to look for the AI art, I probably wouldn't have noticed unless you pointed it out to me. That being said, like, I knew it going in and I didn't let it affect my enjoyment of the movie. You know, like, behind the scenes stuff, like politics or how a movie is made. For me personally, it doesn't dictate my enjoyment of a movie. If it does for you, that is fine. I perfectly understand that. I completely understand a lot of the positions against AI art. They are very valid positions to have, very valid opinions to have. However, my personal opinion, and you shouldn't let this dictate yours, is that there will always be a need for humanity in art, and so I don't really think it's gonna like take over or replace artists at all, because humanity is what makes art human. You know, I and what it seems to be a lot of other people just use like image generators to just like mess around and make cool little things out of it. I don't like, I definitely don't mean any harm, and I'm sure that like a lot of people who post just like fun little cool AI generated stuff, mostly from usually like don't mean any harm to anyone. Like I said, you know, I respect all opinions, all positions on this, all are valid. Now, what is not okay, in my opinion, is the review bombing of this movie due to the AI generated art. For those who don't know, review bombing is when a bunch of people, a very vocal majority or minority, will artificially deflate a movie's ratings, sometimes even creating multiple accounts for the purposes of this, to completely tank a movie's total rating on a site. I'm not sure, I haven't checked IMDb on this movie, but where I have noticed the review bombing is Letterboxd. Pretty much like most of the top reviews on Letterboxd are like half a star, 1 star, saying like, I have to rate it this because it used AI generated art. For that to be not only like the most common theme, like I had to scroll really far to find one review that didn't mention the AI controversy at all, but for that to be like the most popular, the first review that pops up when you look at this movie is a half-star one talking about the AI generated art, that is completely unacceptable. It is okay if these opinions kept you from enjoying the movie, but what is not okay is to use these opinions to start this massive hate train that basically blocks any discussion of the actual movie's content. In fact, the first, and I think only so far, comment I got on my review of Late Night with the Devil on Letterboxd was like, great review, but you didn't mention the AI stuff. So basically, like, we can't have any discussion of this movie. You know, I didn't even want to include this in my review at first, but it felt like I had to because, you know, I am a YouTuber. I'm online. People see me. So, of course, I have to take a side. But essentially, like, we are not allowing any actual discussion of the content to happen without first addressing this. And I feel like that is very antithetical to what film criticism is. Like I said, it is completely okay to be against AI art, but I feel like a lot of this, specifically pertaining, I'm just talking about this movie, okay? I feel like a lot of this is sort of like performative activism. I feel like for most people, it's a jumping on the bandwagon thing. There were some people who were bringing this topic up in good faith, just saying, hey, you know, let's have a little conversation about the use of AI in movies. But then people took it, ran with it, and took it way too far, and now this is the conversation surrounding this movie. I tried to phrase it in a nice way, but I'm just gonna come out and say it. What I'm seeing now is kind of a herd mentality. And that's pretty worrying as someone who wants to go into film, because what film criticism should be is a diverse set of viewpoints on a movie that you can read up on and make your own decisions. But when you have this overwhelming majority, it's gonna completely ruin the reputation and conversation around this movie. Like 10, 20 years from now, people won't be talking about, oh, this movie had such cool special effects, it was so creative, the ending was great. People are just going to be talking about the AI stuff, and the reason why they're going to be talking about it is because of all the backlash. We're also seeing this happen with another recent movie that I really, really loved, which is The Zone of Interest, but I feel like opinions on that movie are more mixed, where with Late Night with the Devil, it is pretty one-sided. So, in summary, it is okay to have opposing viewpoints. It is okay to be anti-AI. It is not okay to be a review bomber. End of story. And now moving on from that kind of heavy conversation into something a lot more fun, and I mean very fun, tarot. Again, a lot of people seem to hate this movie, but you guys, I unironically really enjoyed this. You know, maybe it's because I love being jump scared, right? Like, I feel like I have an adrenaline meter that's like constantly depleting, and it can be replenished with like cool, scary things. And this movie definitely did that. Yeah, the teens had some stupid dialogue and choices. I really didn't like the music they used in the beginning. Like, not the soundtrack. The soundtrack was cool. I meant like the weird pop music they had at the beginning. But guess what, guys? Did you really come to see this movie for the stupid teenagers? Really? No? Does anyone come to watch a horror movie for the stupid teenagers? No. You came here to see the awesome creatures. And awesome they were. I really like tarot cards. It's not something that like I personally believe in is like fortune telling or the end all be all, but I think it is a fun little activity with some really, really beautiful and amazing decks out there. But the deck designs and the character designs in this movie are absolutely inspired. I have never seen anything like this, and oh my god, I really, really, really wish that they release a real-life tarot deck based on the one from this movie, because it is beautiful. I've actually been wanting to collect more tarot decks for a while. I only have like the basic Rider-Waite one, but if any of you guys are into that stuff, let me know if you have any cool decks that you would recommend. And I love the idea of like turning the characters on the cards into villains, because the thing about tarot cards is that the cards can be interpreted in many ways. What is shown on the card does not like accurately represent what it means. And so to have them just be like these concrete evil villains was really cool. Fun fact about the characters' designs, they were done by Trevor Henderson, who you probably remember from all that weird analog horror stuff that went viral, like the Siren Head and the cartoon cat. He did an amazing job, and I really hope that he finds work in the industry, because I would love to see more from him after seeing this. I think it's kind of crazy that, like, a horror creator that went viral, it was TikTok that got him famous, right? Like, a horror creator that went viral on TikTok is now, like, getting a job in an actual scary movie. The kills are so much fun, because you think about the readings and you think that, like, what she's saying is all metaphors, but then they're taken literally in the kills. And, like, you're trying to figure out, ooh, how are they gonna die next? And then it just completely throws you off. I had so much fun with this. My favorite character in this was definitely the Fool. He was incredibly well designed, so creepy. He's got all those Hallmark horror traits, the contortion, his face changing when the lights go on and off. It was great. I honestly think that he could stand on his own in a solo movie. I think that could work. But my favorite kill was the magician. This is what I was referring to when I said that there was another scene in Tarot that got to me. Yeah, it was this one, and it got to me in the best way. I loved it. I loved the creepy faces of the audience, their little applause. The music in that was so freaky. This sort of slow love song. When he starts sawing into the box and, like, you realize what's about to happen, that was so cool. So great to see the Hanged Man here. Y'all know I've been working on some stuff with a villain that also hangs people, or occasionally uses a baseball bat, wink wink. So it was great to see the solidarity of horror movie creatures, killers that hang people. Yeah. I hope it doesn't become public execution is, like, one of my favorite horror tropes, but again, I hope this doesn't become a trend, because, like, everyone will be like, oh, you copied this movie. The only thing that bothered me about this movie is how they get rid of the witch in the end. Turning the curse back on her with the cards, okay, that's cool. But, like, trying to get her to be at peace now? No. No, that is not how that works. This is not the Haunted Mansion, guys. Like, you destroy the monsters with just brute spiritual force. That is satisfying. That is hype. And the visuals, when she gets destroyed, that was cool. But, like, the way it was done, and, you know, I know you're hurting, you know, just soothe yourself. It really undercut that moment for me. And so if it was just the curse being turned back on her, like, that would have been a great finale. But I definitely think that whole idea really undercut the whole thing. But it still did not hamper my enjoyment of the movie too much. I had loads of fun with this. I really would not mind if this movie got a sequel so we can see more of these awesome creatures, or just release the full deck so we can see what all of the characters would have looked like. I, in readings, choose to represent myself as the Queen of Pentacles most of the time, and would have loved to see Trevor Henderson's take on it. My personal favorite tarot card, just in general, is Death, because just like the movie says, sometimes it can mean the end, sometimes it can mean the beginning of something new, or sometimes it can just mean death. Thank you guys so much for watching. What did you think of these movies? Let me know in the comments.